actually, we'll go ahead and we'll get started. People are still available to join in later, but just to respect everybody's time, we'll get started. So again, it's Amanda Miller here with Neighborhood Services. And today we have Desiree Taylor. She's the Community Outreach Coordinator with One Place Family Justice Center. She's going to give a presentation, talk, as well as show some slides. And I will pull that up in a second, but I just wanted to talk about the mission of One Place Family Justice Center. Their mission is to provide a comprehensive service and support center which affords greater safety, access to services, and confidentiality for victims and their families by co-locating services under one roof. So I'm really interested to hear more about One Place, and I'm excited that Desiree is going to talk to us about that today. So let me go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint presentation. And we'll take roll again at the end of the call for anybody that's joined us just now. So hang out till the end.
Yes, and I did want to say to Amanda that before we get started, I did want to mention that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and our Standing Together Against Rape program is celebrating 25 years of offering full sexual assault services and forensic collection for children and adults living in Central Alabama. So we have a myriad of activities going on, webinars, presentations, just to engage the community, bring awareness, advocacy, prevention. If anyone on the line is interested in being a part of our Sexual Assault Month activities, please go to our website at oneplacefjc.org to learn more.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that information.
Yes.
Can you see your presentation?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So I have successfully shared. So I'll allow you to go ahead and take over speaking.
Okay. So thank you so much, Amanda, for the introduction. And again, my name is Desiree Taylor with One Place Family Justice Center, and I do appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all on today. So let's get into the presentation, a look into domestic violence. Okay, next.
Sorry, one sec. I'm so sorry. I was trying to mute everybody real quick.
Okay.
If you just 1 second. Okay.
I'm on a roll and didn't even notice.
No, you're good. You're good. Sorry.
Okay, just let me know when you're ready.
Yep, I'm ready. You should
Okay.
you see the next slide.
Yes. So do you want me to just keep saying next?
Yes.
Okay. So what is domestic violence? Domestic violence is a deliberate pattern of controlling and coercive conduct that serves to deprive victims of safety and autonomy. Perpetrators use abusive tactics to reinforce their rules and to maintain absolute power and control over their intimate partners. So two things to realize and recognize and know about domestic violence. It's all about power and control. One person in the relationship has more power and control over the other. Next. So there's a misconception a lot of times that domestic violence is just the physical, the punching, the slapping, the hitting, and the shoving. But there are other forms of abuse as well. And sometimes there can be all types of abuse happening simultaneously. There is psychological abuse, which is the humiliation. It is also the isolating of victims from their family and friends. The victim may feel like he or she is walking on eggshells in front of the perpetrator. And then there is that gaslighting where the victim feels, questions his or her feelings about what's going on in the abusive behavior that's going on in the relationship. Then there is emotional abuse, there's the name calling, there's the humiliation, the insults. There is also the perpetrator withholding the love and support from the victim. And then the victim may blame him or herself for the abuse that's going on, thinking that the abuse is his or her fault. Then there is the sexual abuse, which can be sexual assault or rape. And take note that anything that is not consensual is considered sexual assault. And then there's the financial abuse, that the partner is controlling how the finances flow in and outside of the household. And a victim may find that his or her wallet may be missing, cash gone, credit cards or debit cards being used without his or her permission. So again, you see the different types of abuse: the psychological, the emotional, the physical, the sexual, and the financial abuse. And to the right, you will see the power and control wheel. And this is what professionals and those who are working in the domestic violence field look at or refer to see the type of tactics that abusers use toward victims. And again, it's a cycle of abuse. There's not isolated attempts of abuse, but sometimes it can all happen simultaneously. And again, it's a cycle of abuse. Next. So I'm not going to read all of the stats that you see here on the screen. I'm just going to name some of them. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been victims of some form of physical violence by an intimate partner within their lifetime. 1 in 7 women and 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime, at the point which they have felt very fearful that someone close to them would be harmed or killed. On a typical day, there are more than 20,000 phone calls that are placed to domestic violence hotlines. Women between the ages of 18 to 24 are most commonly abused by an intimate partner. 19% of those domestic violence situations involves a weapon. And only 34% of people who are injured by intimate partners actually receive medical care for their injuries. And as you see, domestic violence is very much an issue, not only nationally, but in the state of Alabama and in Montgomery County as well. Next. Know that domestic violence, it affects each one of us, no matter your gender, no matter your sexual orientation or your socioeconomic status. We all know someone, or maybe you yourself have been involved in a domestically violent situation. And please note too that women are not only victims of abuse or can be victims of abuse, but men can be victims of abuse as well. Worldwide, men who are exposed to domestic violence as children, they're 3 times more likely to perpetrate intimate partner violence as adults than men who were not exposed to domestic violence as children. Between 21 to 60% of victims of domestic violence lose their jobs due to reasons stemming from the abuse. Domestic violence has a mental health impact. Studies show that there's a relationship between domestic violence and depression, and also suicidal behavior. And physical, mental, and sexual, as well as reproductive health effects have been linked to domestic violence. And domestic violence is not a single isolated attack, but rather a pattern of multiple tactics and repeat events. And again, it's a cycle of abuse. Next. And here are just a few facts on teen and college dating. Nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide will experience physical abuse from a dating partner in a single year. 1 in 10 high school students have been purposefully hit, slapped, or physically hurt by a boyfriend or girlfriend. And among female victims of intimate partner violence, 94% of those aged 16 to 19 and 70% of those aged 20 to 24 were victimized by a current or former boyfriend or girlfriend. Nearly half, or 43% of dating college women report experiencing violent and abusive dating behaviors. And being physically or sexually abused makes teen girls 6 times more likely to become pregnant and twice as likely to get a sexually transmitted infection. And this is coming from loveisrespect.org. That is a great resource, you all, concerning dating violence and domestic violence. I encourage you to check it out. Next. Did you know that teenagers ages 13 to 18 years may exhibit the most behavioral changes as a result of exposure to violence? Witnessing domestic violence can have negative effects on children's development. Exposure to domestic violence, like other toxic stressors, can interfere with a child's healthy brain development. And this is coming from futureswithoutviolence.org. Next. So here are some signs that you are in an emergency situation and you may need to seek help. If your partner threatens suicide or homicide, if the abuser says that they will kill themselves, understand that this likely means that they will kill you as well. So take this threat seriously. The perpetrator will fantasize about homicide or suicide. If they see this as a solution to their problems, they may attempt it. Beware of your abuser threatening suicide. Usually it means that he or she will kill you first. Possesses weapons. If your abuser owns weapons and has used them to threaten you in the past, they have the potential for lethal assault. The use of guns is a strong predictor of homicide. Ownership issues. If your abuser believes you belong to them or death before divorce, their behavior is more likely to become lethal. If the perpetrator idolizes you, if your abuser idolizes you or depends heavily on you to sustain and has become isolated from others, it is likely that they will retaliate against you if you decide to end the relationship. Separation violence. If your abuser believes you will leave them and they can't imagine living life without you, they may try to kill you. Many homicides occur when a survivor is leaving an abusive partner. And lastly, escalating danger. When your batterer begins to act more and more as if they have no regard to the consequences of their actions, legal or otherwise, you are at an extremely increased risk of danger. So if you are experiencing any of these signs, you are most likely in an emergency situation. So please seek help. And One Place Family Justice Center can help you to do that. Next. On this slide is the Dating Bill of Rights, and this is coming from the Alabama Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I'll just read some of the points here. I have a right to ask for a date or to refuse a date. I have a right to suggest activities. I have a right to have my own feelings and be able to express them. I have a right to say that I think my friend is wrong and his or her actions are inappropriate. I have a right to tell someone not to interrupt me. I have a right to have limits and values respected. I have a right to tell my partner when I need affection. I have the right to refuse affection. I have a right to lend money. I have a right to be heard. And I have a right to have friends and space aside from my partner. Next. Now, we just spoke about the signs of being in an emergency situation. Here are the signs of being in a healthy relationship. Both of you can communicate with each other. Both of you feel respected in the relationship. There's trust there, there's honesty there, there's equality there. Also, both of you enjoy personal time and space away from each other. Both of you can make mutual choices, and both of you have a part in economic and financial responsibilities. And this is the relationship spectrum, and this is coming from loveisrespect.org. Next. So what is One Place Family Justice Center? And Amanda had already kind of gave it to us in the introduction. We do like to consider ourselves as a one-stop shop of comprehensive and co-located services. We have 4 on-site partners. We have the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office represented here with our client intake specialist. We have 2 attorneys with Legal Services Alabama. Then we also have access to our magistrate, which is not on site right now because of COVID-19. They're at the main office. And then we also have the Domestic Violence Bureau of our Montgomery County Police Department, not Montgomery County, but our Montgomery Police Department that's upstairs. So One Place provides resources all under one roof to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, human trafficking, and child and elder abuse. There are 3 justice centers in the state of Alabama. One Place is the first. It opened its doors back in 2010. And so last year we were celebrating 20 years, or 10 years, I'm sorry, of being in existence. And there is a One Place Justice Center of the Shoals that is in Florence, Alabama. And then we have One Place Metro Birmingham. Our mission is to provide a comprehensive service and support center which affords greater safety, access to services, and confidentiality to victims and their families by co-locating services all under one roof. We provide resources and advocacy and crisis counseling to the following counties: Montgomery, Autauga, Butler, Chilton, Crenshaw, Dallas, Elmore, Lowndes, Perry, and Wilcox counties. And additional sexual assault services are available in Perry, Wilcox, and Dallas counties. Our mission is supported through more than 20 local community agencies that we partner with. So as I mentioned, we have our 4 on-site partners, and then we have about 16 other community partners that we collaborate with to help our mission and vision come to pass. Next. So at the bottom of this slide, you will see some of our partners. We have the Montgomery County Commission, the Family Sunshine Center, the Family Guidance Center of Alabama, the Montgomery Area Mental Health Authority. We have the Montgomery Area Council on Aging, Child Protect, Butterfly Bridge Children's Advocacy Center, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Middle District of Alabama, Easter Seals, and a plethora of others, as you see here. So with the Montgomery Police Department, for instance, you can get specialized investigations and prosecution. You can get on-site assistance with the criminal process and court system. I mentioned to you Legal Services Alabama, where we also have the Thomas Good Jones School of Law students that assist us as well. And victims can receive legal help with their domestic violence issues, child support, custody, if someone needed a protection from abuse order. And also there's other areas: consumer protection, wage garnishment, and then eviction and foreclosure prevention as well. And there is an income limit for those services. And if you're interested in receiving those services from Legal Services Alabama, please visit our website. And again, that's oneplacefjc.org. I mentioned the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office, and you see the client intake specialist. They greet the person coming in wanting assistance. They're able to direct that client to be, or prospective client, with different resources and filling out paperwork and directing them to either our on-site services or community resources. Next. So know that love does not hurt. You deserve to be respected. You deserve to have a healthy relationship. And at One Place, it's a safe place of confidential services for you. We are here for you. Whatever you need from us, we are here for you to provide the crucial resources and services that you need to break free from an abusive situation. You can call us at 334-262-7378. You can visit our website at oneplacefjc.org. We have a 24/7 crisis hotline that is through our Standing Together Against Rape program. That number is 213-1227. There's no appointment required for our services. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 until 5. We are closed on holidays, but our crisis hotline is open 24/7. Then if you are a teen and you are involved in a violent relationship, you can call 866-331-9474. And you can also contact the Alabama Coalition Against Domestic Violence at 800-650-6522, and they will be able to give you information about their services as well as shelters. And then if you would like to contact me for community outreach events or presentations, my email is on the screen at dtaylor@oneplacefjc.org, or you can call our main number at 334-262-7378. And this ends our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you. I have several questions myself, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of this just to check the chat.
Okay.
To see if I've missed any questions while we've been speaking. I'll pull that up. I'm going to go ahead and before I ask my questions that I've written down, if you're capable of doing it, our attendees, if you'd like to unmute yourself, and if you have a question, feel free to ask it at this time.
And I don't know if any of One Place staff is on, but if you are on, feel welcome to open your line up and acknowledge that you're on.
So I'll go first with my questions. If anybody's feeling shy, I'll take the first step. I was curious. One thing that I've always found to be kind of confusing is gaslighting. Could you? I think I understand it now, but could you give some examples of what gaslighting is?
Well, yes, I will. The one example that I can give, again, what I mentioned is that the victim may question his or her competence, or may feel like, okay, well, maybe I wasn't hearing what I heard, or maybe what happened didn't happen. I would say probably manipulation, and an example probably would be maybe I'll say myself as a victim. Maybe I'm a victim. And let's say me and my boyfriend, we went out to eat, and he says like a snide remark. And I'm thinking, did he say what he just said? And I go to him and tell him, well, you mentioned earlier this or that about maybe what I was wearing. And then he says, I didn't say that. You are taking that to the extreme. I didn't say that at all. I don't think you know what I'm talking about. So that's an example of gaslighting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think those are great examples. I think the word manipulation really fits into gaslighting really well. So thank you appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I was curious because you talked about how if you yourself were a victim of sexual abuse at a young age, that you're more likely to become an offender. Are there programs, maybe not, maybe this isn't something one place is currently exploring, but are there programs to help better address things at an earlier age, or better provide support for victims at an earlier age to help prevent them from becoming offenders at a later age?
Can you restate? And then I'm kind of having a hard time hearing, Amanda. That's why I'm leaning in. But can you restate your question?
Yeah. Is this any better? Can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can.
I was just curious. Maybe one place isn't currently doing this, and you might know of other services. But if you are more likely to become an offender if you were yourself a victim of sexual abuse at a young age. Are there services to better support sexual assault victims to help prevent them from becoming offenders at a later age?
Yes. And let me clarify too, not just sexual assault, but just domestic violence. If you were exposed to it as a child, you're more than likely, and I think I read somewhere, you're 15 times more likely to either be a perpetrator of the abuse or be a victim. So we do offer, our Standing Together Against Rape program does offer short-term and long-term counseling for victims who go through the Standing Together Against Rape program. They're already clients. And there's just victim advocacy, just different services that are available to help victims. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, we do have webinars. Today, for instance, we have a Teal Talk that is put on with the Alabama Coalition Against Rape. We're talking about sexual assault in rural communities. So I do encourage you all to look at either the ACAR Facebook page today at 1, or go to the Star of Montgomery's Facebook page to tune in to that webinar, that Facebook Live broadcast. And just go to our website also for our calendar of events to just see what educational opportunities and community resources are available for victims, and also for families of victims and community members who just want to know more about sexual assault awareness and education and prevention.
Perfect. That's great. Those are awesome resources. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
I was also curious, legal services that's in your office, do they only focus on DV sexual assault related issues, or if someone came into your office, walked in because no appointment is necessary, could they see legal services about any legal issue?
Well, if a person comes in seeking our services, our client intake specialist will be that liaison to have that person fill out paperwork to kind of determine if they need to see an attorney or if they need to see a police officer, etc. So you would have to start the intake process first, and then from there, the case management would also direct you, like, okay, it does look like you need a protection from abuse order, let me get you in contact with the attorney. Or if you need to speak with a police officer, we can get you in contact there. So it starts with the client intake process. Somebody can't just automatically say, I need a protection from abuse order, lead me to the attorney. Legal Services Alabama our attorneys here specifically work with domestic violence related issues, but Legal Services Alabama does help those of low income who are at the 200% poverty level, and it helps them with like consumer protection, public benefits, landlord tenant issues, etc. So if you wanted to speak with legal services specifically, I would reach out to legal services by going to legalservicesalabama.org, and you'll see a list of services that they provide.
Perfect. Thank you. I think just clarifying how the process works, if someone were to come into one place, that makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. I know Desiree was really detailed in her presentation, so we might not have any questions, but of course this video will be available tomorrow for anybody to go back and watch and access Desiree's information. So if nobody has any questions at this time, then I'll go ahead and thank Desiree for joining us today. Attendees, I'll ask you to stay on just another minute so I can verify attendance, but I won't keep Desiree for that. And thank you so much, Desiree. It was very informative. I really appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, you all, and I look forward to doing another presentation sometime in the future.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye, everyone.